going to get a winter storm, including heavy snow and blowing and freezing.
Hello and welcome to the Snow Brains podcast, where it's my job to interview the most intelligent people in the snow sports industry and pass their fascinating knowledge onto you, our listeners. I'm your host, Miles Clark. I'm a professional free skier, a professional mountain guide, a UC Berkeley molecular cell biology graduate, the founder and CEO of Snow Brains, and I'm so addicted to skiing that I spent the last 11 summers in a row skiing in Argentina, right up until the pandemic hit. But I haven't been able to go the past 2 summers due to COVID. I simply cannot wait to get back down there to see all my Argentine friends this summer. Fingers crossed. Today's Snow Brains podcast is brought to you by Grand Targhee Resort, home to the best snow in Wyoming. Delivering an average of 500 inches of snow annually, you'll find uncrowded slopes and a unique Targhee vibe served on the daily. My guest today is Tom Day. Tom has been a filmer, director, and skier for Warren Miller ski movies every year since 1984. Tom has been the principal filmer and director since the year 2000. Tom Day won an Emmy in 2021 for his work on Life Below Zero, a National Geographic show. Tom has worked on big Hollywood movies such as Molly's Game and Triple X. Tom was a skier in the legendary, game-changing ski movie, Blizzard of Aahhhs in 1988. Tom is still such a badass free skier that he skied the chimney at Squaw Valley Palisades, Tahoe only 2 years ago at the age of 58. Very few people have the guts to ski this in their prime. Tom is one of the best and smoothest skiers I've ever witnessed. Tom grew up skiing Bolton Valley in Vermont and has spent his adult life in Squaw Valley, Palisades, Tahoe, where he still resides. Tom's stories from behind the scenes in the ski movie world are absolutely priceless. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here. How are you, man?
Doing good, Miles. Thanks for getting in touch with me.
Oh, man, I'm pumped to have you here, man. It's a real pleasure. When did you ski last?
Today.
Nice. How was it?
It's really good. California skiing to its finest right now. Just warm temperatures with good, cold winter chalky snow.
I love it. This time of year, that low snow angle, that's the California dream. It's like 50 degrees out, but the snow is cold somehow. I love that.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. How many days do you think you've skied already?
I probably got 30 days in or so.
Oh, man, you're getting after it. Well, I'm really excited to dig into some of your stories about working with Warren Miller, working with Standard Films, being a skier in the legendary Blizzard of Aahhhs, arguably the greatest ski movie of all time, and lots more. So I'll ask some brief questions here, and then we'll kind of drill down into some more in-depth stuff. How many days do you ski per year?
I'm usually on my skis 150 days a year. Some of those are working. Some of them I'm skiing around with a camera pack. That's okay. That's still skiing.
Absolutely. And how many days do you think you go backcountry every year?
I probably ski 30 to 40 days in the backcountry a year.
Wow, that's a ton.
Yeah.
How do you define yourself?
I'm definitely a person that's happy to be on this planet. Yeah, I feel fortunate for that. I feel fortunate to have the upbringing and where I was brought up, especially like kind of being in the mountains and by parents and family that really like the outdoors. I think that's what probably defined me more than anything was, my folks really encouraging us to be outside. And it's definitely where I like to be.
Where's your favorite place to ski?
My favorite place to ski is where I'm at right now or on any given day.
I love that. And if you had to pick maybe your favorite mountain ranges, what might they be?
Yeah, there's some beautiful mountain ranges out there. Home now is the Sierras, and that's endless. You could spend your whole life in just the Sierras, no problem. And for the most part, they're kind of untouched too, especially being in the state of California. You think there'd be people everywhere, but there's a lot of vacant space out there. The Green Mountains of Vermont, Gotta love those.
Nice.
Now that's my foundations, my roots. I just absolutely love going back there any time of year.
What would you do if you couldn't ski?
Yeah, I have no idea. I really don't. I don't know what life would be without skiing in it. Yeah, I mean, I love the feeling of skiing, and equally, I love the lifestyle of it. You know, all the other people that you get to meet that have that same love for it, and seeing it in different mountains, different towns, different ski areas. The combination of all that. I don't know where else in life you could get that.
I love that answer from you, because I think that really shows how deeply embedded skiing is in you, and how much it is a part of just who you are. I love that. You can't even think of anything else. That makes me very happy. What scares you the most in the mountains?
I guess the unpredictable. You can try and understand everything as much as possible. Fresh snow, there's always a chance of avalanche that you didn't quite think about, or, you know, you thought about it, but you didn't listen to yourself well enough, you know, because it's not an exact science.
Definitely.
And then the opposite of avalanches is like firm snow that you could actually physically slide on. If you skied enough, we all know how quick we can go down without even thinking about it, you know, just cross a tip or hit something or anything. And then, you know, we all know it can happen to us at any time. We could fall. And
I agree.
There's definitely times when you got to know where you are and think harder not to make that happen. You know, maybe throttle way back or something, do whatever. I mean, you really got to follow your instinct there and really hopefully have a good grasp on where you are. But again, I've been skiing. Let me see, I'm 60 and I started when I was 5. So that's like 55 years. So I still know how quick I can fall. You know, it still happens. And it's probably happened during every one of those years I've skied. So I don't think anyone can go out there every day and not expect to fall at some point, you know. And I think that's, you know, part of skiing too, is, you know, pushing yourself a bit, you know, that's where the rush is. And I think the importance is to, you know, just try to keep yourself in check.
Yeah, I agree. It's the objective danger that's so scary. And it's just anything can happen on any day. And you just have to deal with that. And risk is so much a part of skiing and snowboarding. And that's why it's so fun. But that's also why it can turn sideways pretty quick. What do you love most in the mountains?
I think the thing that inspires me the most is just being in Mother Nature. You know, I think the mountains to me are so beautiful. It's really a nice element on our planet, and the different shapes and sizes, different seasons, different snows, you know, they're always changing, even though the mountain itself is still there, but its surface is constantly changing and looking different with light on it. And it's just, I feel like I'm one with the planet, you know, when I'm in the mountains. And I think that's what I like most about them.
What's the funniest accident you've had in the mountains?
We were on the island of South Georgia, and it was super windy. We woke up in the morning in these really windy tents. There were 6 of us on this expedition, and I was with Doug Stalp. He was my tent mate. A guy named John Tieford and John Greiber were in another tent, and Hillary Nelson and Rick Armstrong were on the trip.
Legends.
Yeah. So, I mean, all night long, we were in this tent that was just blowing and making so much noise. I mean, you couldn't sleep at all. I mean, it was like a train coming through our camp like every minute. So I was filming Doug inside the tent during the night. And, you know, we were there in November, so it was light out 24 hours a day. In the morning, I wanted to go out and just film the tents from the outside to have some like cutaway shots. And the next thing I knew, I was upside down on Rick and Hillary's tent.
Whoa.
The wind picked me right up off my feet and caught me right on their tent. So, I mean, it must have blown me at least 5 feet, you know, in distance. And, you know, and probably 4 or 5 feet off the air, off the ground as well.
Whoa.
So that was pretty wild. So then, and that one wind gust right there destroyed 2 of the 3 tents. And the tent I landed on was the tent that didn't break. Then we had to, our tents were destroyed. We had to get back to the boat. We had a ship down there that was our base camp. And so we broke off into 2 groups, 3 people to a rope because we had to go up over an ice field. So the other group was about 100 feet. They were getting ready. They were going to go with crampons. And I'm thinking, Rick was kind of lagging. So it gave me time to think a little bit. And I said, you know what, we should ski. We shouldn't crampon. Because, you couldn't even keep your feet planted. The winds were just blowing you so hard.
Whoa.
So I said, you know what, we should just ski. We should put our skins on and ski. And then right before we started to put our skins on, we said, you know what, let's not even put our skins on. And we were going uphill. But again, the friction with anything on the ground, your feet was locked. So it would just literally blow you right over.
Whoa.
We started heading up, kind of like just skating and pushing. And then the wind would kind of blow us up a little bit. And then the wind started getting stronger. And it literally just blew us up the hill, like blowing a mountain run or something.
Well, so you're basically being blown up like a 15 to 20 degree slope.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
With our red jets rolling in front of us. The wind was blowing our red jets in front of us uphill.
Oh, so your red jet is your sleds, essentially.
Our sleds were ahead of us.
Oh my God.
So they were getting all tangled up in our rope line and stuff. We finally decided, we gotta unhook the rope because it was like a spaghetti factory. We were just all wrapped up. It was crazy.
Whoa.
And then so we did that, and we kind of navigated through the crevasses, and then on the other side was kind of a pitch like probably like Hogsback or something like that on Headwall. Okay,
so more like 35 degrees.
Yeah, and we were in a power side slip, trying to stop. The wind was blowing us so hard down the hill that we couldn't even stop. We were just in this side slip that we couldn't stop.
Scary.
So that's probably like my most interesting, crazy story in the mountains, I'd say.
That's amazing.
We finally got down and we made it to the boat, and we decompressed there for a couple days. And but that was probably one of my most intense mountain experiences.
That sounds extremely tenuous, because I think a lot of us talk about, I was in a really strong wind, or I was in a 60 mile an hour wind, and it's BS. A 25 mile an hour wind is ridiculously strong. So It sounds like you guys really were in 60 plus mile an hour winds. If it was enough to pick you up off the ground and throw you 5 feet, very, very few people on earth have experienced that.
No. I would hate to be on a big ridge or something like that and have it happen. Luckily we were out on the flats,
Still, I bet you guys were a little bit in fear of your lives in a way.
Yeah, definitely. It was, one of those moments where, you had to get yourself together and really think it through and get through it too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, there's some overlap here, but what's the scariest accident you've had on the mountains?
Probably one of my scariest stories was my first year in Chamonix. We went up and skied the Aahhhs Midi the very day it opened, and just skied down the Valley Blanche, because when you first get to Chamonix, you just hear about this famous run down through the glaciers. It's like a 10,000 foot run down off top of the Aahhhs Midi back into Chamonix.
Gorgeous.
And a lot of people were skiing it that day. It was a beautiful sunny day. And, for the most part, the Aahhhs Midi is an intermediate ski run. It's nothing... It's nothing out of the world as far as skiing goes. The hard thing about it is navigating through a couple of the glacier fields, the Serac fields and stuff. But if you follow the guides tracks and stuff, it's really it's pretty good. Nothing's for certain, but it feels pretty good. So I had so much fun. I went right up and did it again the next day. They always have the temperature written at the bottom, and it said -30.
Whoa.
Yeah. This was in Celsius. So
Damn.
I'm thinking, -30, that's probably like, just a little below zero or something like that. But minus 30 Celsius is pretty close. It's probably like minus 25 Fahrenheit. It's pretty cold.
It's damn cold.
And I went solo this time, but went up by myself, and there really wasn't anybody up there. It was a gray day too.
Ooh.
So I start skiing down, going, I'll just follow the tracks, from yesterday. And the wind had blown. It covered up all the tracks. I couldn't see any tracks. I dropped into the cloud, and then I was in like a total whiteout by myself. It was, 25 below out. That's when I think I probably felt like I probably made my least intelligent decision ever going into the mountains. I knew it. And it was too late. I thought about just turning around and hiking back up.
Yeah.
But I kind of kept going down, and luckily I found a guide who had a client, just one client, this woman. So I stayed back about, 200 feet, and I just followed him, and knowing that, oh my God, he's probably hates me, just kind of, using him more or less.
Well, you had to.
Eventually we broke out of the clouds, and I could start seeing better. And I skied up to him, and then I apologized. I said, hey, I'm really, really sorry. I was lost, and I needed someone to follow. And he told me in his French accent how stupid I was. And I go, yeah. And he goes, but you were really, really smart to follow me.
Well, it's good, man. I think you have more pride than I have. I think I would have skied up to him with, $20 or something in my hand. Like, hey, I'll give you whatever you want. My firstborn child, just get me out of here.
I probably didn't have $20.
Yeah. Right. What year do you think this was?
That was 1986.
Oh man, that was way back.
I spent that winter in Chamonix for 4 months.
Wow, good for you. What was that experience like?
Oh, that was great. I was 24 years old, and was just starting to, see how much more of the world there was to ski, and then, just kind of growing up in Vermont and then moving to California to Squaw. So my eyes were really starting to open to the prospects of, a much broader skiing experience.
What do you think was the gnarliest or scariest line you ever skied in Chamonix?
I think the line that I like the Rhone Glacier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what was, intense about that one was, the fact that it's a hanging ice field, if it was the avalanche, and if it went big, you'd go off the end, like a close to 1,000-foot cliff, so. Or
even if you just fell.
Yeah. Yeah. To stop yourself. Yeah.
How steep do you think that is? Because I think I skied part of that. I accessed it from the Cosmiques, I think.
You could
Maybe it was different, but it was terrifying. You had to make a special left turn or something at the very end, so you didn't end up off that cliff you're talking about.
The exit couloir.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that faces that all of a sudden changes exposure too. It goes like from more of a north to a west facing thing. And if you hit the exit couloir too late, then maybe the sun's been baking it too long too. So you got to play that timetable. And our first time doing it, we were running late. So the guy was with Chris Noble, an old ski photographer. And I was with Tom Burt and Jim Zellers.
Oh, wow. More legends.
Yeah. We had it. That was good. Yeah. I think just the exposure, just being up there for, I don't know, you're probably on the main face for 5-10 minutes. And, that's a long time to be on something that's got exposure to it.
My experience in Chamonix was, a lot of 2,000-foot faces where any single turn, if you fell, you were done. You weren't going to recover. It was a little bit firm at times, and you were just going to fall until your life ended, which really helps you focus. And I went out to Chamonix thinking I was an extreme skier. Like, hey, I'm from Tahoe. I'm an extreme skier. And I left Chamonix realizing, no, I am a free skier. I want to be able to fall and tomahawk and lose my goggles and hike up and find them, talk to my friends about it, like all of that. Chamonix, if you fall, that is it, man. That is a whole another level. And it was really good for me because I did about a month out there and I came home and realized, all right, that's not for me. Well, let's go back to happy fun skiing because it's another level. But I do think it raises your awareness, raises your focus, and really raises the level of your skiing, spending time in Chamonix. And on that note of this other end of the ski and snowboard world that we both know too well, I'm always curious, and I always like to ask people this because we don't talk about this enough in the mountains. How many friends have you lost in the mountains, Tom?
Definitely a handful of good friends over the years, for sure. It kind of reminds you of two things. Is one is like, the importance to enjoy every moment you have, and try to stay alert. Try to, respect where you are as much as you can, and that's sometimes easier said than done.
Agreed. It is the other edge of the sword, which is terrifying, but I think it does help us focus and make us better in the end. Why do you think Tahoe has been such a focal point for mountain people passing away too soon?
Well, a couple things on here. I mean, I think like Tahoe people, there's a lot of challenging stuff here, but I think a lot of people that are from here or live here, they also have a bug to go to other places too. And I think,
yes,
so maybe that's part of it, is going somewhere that might take a little bit longer to get familiar with. I think it's on our radar because it is our home, right? I think there's a lot of mountains that could probably, have those same stories that we have.
How many avalanches have you been in?
Yeah, I've been in a few, and I've been close to a few. I want to knock on wood here because
me too.
One of those things they're very humbling when they happen. I think like one of the biggest ones I was with Dean Cummings and Dean Conway, Seth Morrison, and Dave Miller up in Valdez. And Dave Miller was our guide. So he went first, and he skis down like about 2 or 3 turns, and then the whole thing just cracked. And I mean, it probably went like a quarter mile in each direction wide.
Wow.
About a 3-foot crown.
Huge.
And it went to the valley floor about 2,500 feet below. We saw it all fan out down there.
Whoa.
And we're like, oh my God. So we just kind of ski to the edge and get down on the bed surface. And then we kind of formulated a plan. Dean Conway, we sent him down, and it was kind of a rollover, a bowling ball rollover. And he skied down about 200-300 feet, and we had radios. And Dave was able to dig in. I don't know. He must have some type of Wolverine skills, but he didn't go down with it. But he went down like 300-400 feet.
That's impressive.
How he didn't end up going the whole way. He must have just fought like hell or something. Luckily, the avalanche happened at his feet and not like above him.
Right.
That was saving grace. So he just had to kind of dance and prance a little bit to get the snow to go ahead of him, but still brought him down quite a ways. And oh boy, we were all scared. That ended our day right there.
That is terrifying. Yeah, that sounds like a not survivable avalanche had he stayed in that flow. So good job. That's what they say. Fight like hell. Do everything you can to get out of it.
Yeah.
Have you ever been hurt while skiing?
When I was in the 8th grade, I was riding up the chairlift with my cousin, and we were talking about breaking bones. And I said, I've never broken a bone in my body. And that run, I skied down, did a daffy off this jump, caught a ski tip, and broke my wrist.
No.
That very run, just after talking on the chairlift about, I've never broken a bone. So now when people talk about getting hurt, it's like, the nice weather today, isn't it?
I like it. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
You've been on ski trips all over the world. Which was your favorite ski trip?
Well, the Isle of South Georgia was definitely probably my best adventure.
Nice.
We took a 60-foot steel hull cutter from the Falkland Islands off the tip of Argentina. Took us 5 days across the South Atlantic to get to the Isle of South Georgia, which is about 100 miles long and 20 miles wide, 10,000 foot peaks. The island itself is about 90% glacier.
Wow.
So it's really, really rugged terrain. And the seacoast right there is rugged as well. Beautiful wildlife, penguins, elephant seals. Used to be a whaling station back in the day. Yeah, so it took us about 5 days to get to the island. And then we spent a month just kind of circumnavigating the island.
A month. Wow.
Yeah, a whole month. Yeah. And so every day we'd, find a place to anchor, take the Zodiac in, hike up, ski. And then there was some times where we'd go out for 4 or 5 days and, make a base camp up there. So we didn't have to keep going up and down through the lower fields as much. We could stay up where the steeper skiing was.
Nice.
That was just a great adventure, and with a good group of people. That's where I met Doug Stalp, and I just admire what he has done to bring in people like to Antarctica to ski, to Svalbard, places. The polar regions of the world is where Doug really likes to be, and I just love how he has shared that with so many other skiers, and that was his goal. He wanted other people to see it.
Agreed. Yeah. Doug Stalp, the owner of Ice Axe Expeditions, who is my boss, who I guide for now. And, he changed my life. I've gotten to go to Antarctica 5 times, and I'm going twice more in November, and I've gotten to go to Svalbard thrice. And these places, have such an impact, just like you're relaying right now, these wild, remote polar places full of life. It is nuts to go to these places and just teeming with life. Very unlike the mountains that we have in North America, where it's much more sterile. You don't really see anything alive. It's so interesting. It's so fun. And I appreciate you saying that. Doug is a very special, unique person, and he really has opened up the polar regions to so many people.
Yeah, it's spectacular. The pureness of that part of the world is just incredible. And you see it. You see it in the clarity of the water. You feel it with the wildlife. You know that there's not many other humans around you, and there's very little human impact on that part of the world.
We had a client once say that he loves going to Antarctica because it's just the way God created it, and that's it. There's no human impact whatsoever. And I agree. It just that's why it's so special. It's just the way Mother Nature made it, and that's it. Nowhere else we go has that. Everywhere else has been compromised. What's your favorite ski movie?
I've always liked, and I saw this movie a long time ago, Dick Barrymore's The Last of the Ski Bum.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what I like about that movie so much is you got like a cast of characters that travel around for a season together.
Uh-huh.
And they go to a few places in the United States, and then they go over to Europe and they ski over there. And through the movie, you really get to see them not experience just good skiing, but really immerse themselves into the lifestyle of the areas that they're at too. For me, that really is what skiing is. It's kind of enjoying both those sides of the sport. And I think that's why I like that movie so much.
I still haven't seen that. That must have come out in the 70s.
I think maybe
early 80s,
70s.
I need to say, I know Dick Barrymore is very famous. What challenges you the most intellectually on a daily basis?
Well, I think trying to understand the U.S. politics right now kind of baffles me.
Good answer. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't think I can answer that one either. It's frustrating in a sense. It's like, why can't we just work together on these issues?
And everything is just so haywire with the pandemic. And gosh, I got 2 COVID tests today because I'm going to Canada, and a booster shot. So it's there's a lot of pieces of that puzzle.
Boy, that's a challenging one right now, and we're definitely in the thick of it.
What's your favorite book or books?
Yeah, I like a few different types. I go back and forth between some type of a historical valued book to just I love Robert Ludlum. Just to really get my mind off of things and just go for an entertaining ride for a little bit.
And which Ludlum book might you recommend?
Well, The Bourne Identity.
Gosh, yeah.
That was the first one I read from Robert Ludlum, and I would definitely recommend that as your first Robert Ludlum book if you haven't read any of his books. But as far as like on the other end of the spectrum, the historical, one of my favorite books that I've ever read is The Endurance.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's about Ernest Shackleton's second voyage to Antarctica.
Yes.
Trying to be the first person to go from one end of Antarctica to the other end, passing through the pole.
And that's come up with other guests as well. I think even Doug Stout talked about it. And I don't want to give away too much, but their boat just gets smashed by the ice and they somehow put together lifeboats and fix them and end up on a island, Elephant Island, and then they have to go somewhere else to get rescued. And I don't want to give away any more, but it's the most epic survival story that I've ever heard. And if I'm not mistaken, they don't lose anybody. It's ridiculous. It's one of the best books, best stories of all time. And that is true is almost hard to understand. Who has inspired you the most in your life?
My brother John, I think, has inspired me more than anyone else has ever inspired me.
Oh, how so?
On a continual basis. He's a year older than me, so he was always like one step ahead in the learning curve, right? He was the oldest. So I was really able to follow his footsteps pretty nicely to see what he could get away with and what he couldn't get away with. So that worked out pretty good.
The firstborn always paves the way. It's so much easier after him.
It was John that would go skiing with my folks, before I could go because he was a year older.
Uh-huh.
So it was watching him come back with the family, and I could tell he was going somewhere where it was a good time, and I wanted to be a part of that good time. I had no idea what it was, but it just looked good. So I go. And John's just always been super responsible, a really good decision maker. Likes to have fun on all kinds of levels, exploration and being adventurous in the outdoors and hiking and skiing. And so I mean, our times together today are still fantastic when we get to go out and ski and share time wherever in the mountains. He's lived an incredible ski bum life. He brought me to Squaw.
Oh, wow.
He was here at Squaw before I got here. So he was the reason why I moved here.
That's huge.
He really living life large and manages his time to enjoy the pleasures.
Tom, how did you make your dreams into reality? You have an incredible life. You've gotten to ski, like you said, for 55 years. You've done it professionally. You've done it in ski movies, and you making all these Warren Miller ski movies, directing Warren Miller ski movies. How did you make your dreams into reality?
Definitely by following my heart. I can't think of another reason why it happened. I mean, besides just really following the path of enjoyment and what felt good and what felt like the direction to be heading at, especially with skiing. I knew from a very young age skiing was going to be my life. I mean, I knew that probably before I was 10 years old that that's what I was going to spend the rest of my life doing. And I was able to keep that. I didn't deviate from that, and the rest falls in place if you got a good anchor. And that was my anchor. And as far as the filming goes, my dad was an amateur photographer. So I enjoyed seeing his results, to take a picture, even if it was just a picture, like a family picture, and then seeing it. And it's like, wow, what a cool concept that art of, saving something for the rest of time, more or less,
Yeah.
And so I got a little pocket Instamatic camera before we went on a family trip down to Washington, D.C. when I think we were in like the 4th grade or something. And I just kind of documented our trip through that little pocket Instamatic camera, and kind of been doing that ever since. That's the way I approach a lot of my film shoots. Is I don't really make a lot of plans ahead of time on many of my shoots. I like to let them kind of unfold naturally, and I think it kind of stemmed from that's original style of shooting, of just like something inspires you capture it, knowing that you can tell that experience later, what it meant to you.
Well, you are one suave character, Tom, because I was just going to get into the in-depth questions. And that was my first question. How did you get into making ski movies? And I love that it was, you seeing your father work this, getting an Instamatic camera as a small child and filming Washington, D.C. It's a great place to start. And it sounds like that's kind of what all inspired you to make ski movies. And then I guess the next maybe huge step here, and we're skipping a little bit, but when did you start filming for Warren Miller?
Yeah, I started filming for Warren Miller. My first film shots were in 1988 with Gary Nate. He was a cameraman for Warren Miller for many, many years, and certainly one that inspired me to become a cameraman as well.
So you've been shooting Warren Miller since 1988. I mean, that's 36 years. That's incredible. And you've been involved. You've been involved most years, I imagine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And those first couple years were mainly just taking a small camera package from Gary, like with just a wide angle lens on it, and doing follow cam shots of other skiers. I did some shots out of a tandem hang glider, filming from the hang glider. And so yeah, it was basically a cameraman setting the camera up, giving it to me, and then I just skied or moved with it, right?
But you were filming skiers from a hang glider.
No, I wasn't filming skiers. I was doing more like scenics and establishing shots of the Portillo Lodge and stuff. That was down in Portillo.
So you were the first ever drone.
I guess maybe. There you go. Yeah, Brian Sisselman was a cameraman for Warren Miller who gave me an awful lot of inspiration. He would so this would have been, maybe 1989 by now. And he could see my interest. He could see my direction, that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah. At what point did you realize you could do this professionally?
I didn't know for a while. Okay. That's for sure. I bought a camera in 1988 from Gary, a wind up Bolex camera.
Nice.
And I had people like Warren Miller, that gave me film to shoot, and they would process it. To shoot 3 minutes of 16 millimeter film would cost about $100.
Really? And back then, that's a ton.
That's for 3 minutes.
Wow.
So every 3 minutes was $100. So
you had to be critical on what you filmed.
And the time it takes to get that film back and look at it and see if you had mistakes. To critique yourself, now it's like, it's instant, so the learning curve of a photographer, photography is trial and error.
Yeah. And how long would it take to get the film back so you could give yourself feedback?
Few factors go into how long it takes the film to get back. It's like who you're working for, how quick do they process it and get it onto a medium that you can look at, like whether it's a VHS tape or whether it's the negative itself that you run through or a positive that they make from the negative that you run through a projector. Yeah, so it could be months, literally months after you take a shot. And
good God,
these old film cameras were really, really dark to look through. You could hardly see the action. You could barely see color through it or anything. So you're just kind of putting the subject in the frame where you think you want them. And then like 3-4 months later, you look at the footage and it's all colorful and bright and beautiful. And you go, man, I took that.
I nailed it.
Yeah.
Wow, what a different process.
Yeah. So I had a transition from skiing to filmmaking. And the reason why I wanted to make that transition was I really felt I had a longer career in the ski film world if I became a cameraman versus staying as a skier.
Smart.
Well, that's what worked for me, There's a lot of skiers that have made a lot of nice long careers by sticking to it. And I admire them for that, for sure.
Well, it definitely worked for you. And it just fantastic luck that you ended up with Warren Miller. Which is now the most watched ski movies of all time. Might have been back then too. And did you know Warren a little bit? What was your relationship with Warren Miller like?
Yeah, Warren, I slowly met Warren over the years. I never worked directly for him. His director of photography, Don Berlin, was the guy that always arranged, my schedule with being a skier and then later as a cameraman. So I never had to correspond with Warren on a business level. So whenever I met Warren in person, it was always on a personal level that we could just chat and not worry about shop too much, you know.
And what was Warren like? He's like the larger than life figure now, and we all feel like we know him a little bit because the way he talks to us in the ski movies.
Yeah, I mean, Warren was just such a hard worker. I mean, what he did to make a ski movie every year was incredible. So you go out and you film all winter, then you go home and you edit all summer, and then you go out in the fall and you show the movie. And somewhere along the lines, you have to sell yourself. You have to raise funds for the next year.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, we're on number 73 right now.
Holy shit.
So 73 years in a row of making a ski movie.
Every single year.
Every single year.
It's exhausting.
Very much. And it's hard, you know, and it's hard. I mean, I think we're just so fortunate. We got a great audience that I feel gives us a fair amount of latitude. You know, I think they come to get entertained, you know. I don't think they're expecting anything too much except hopefully be surprised. You know, maybe it's being surprised by something funny. Maybe it's surprised of going somewhere on the planet that they had no idea even existed, or that you could ski there and meet new people, the people we get to film. You know, they get to kind of meet them through the film, and so I think they keep coming to our movie, which allows us to keep making them. And thank you, and to our audience.
Yeah, and where's somewhere that you've gone that you didn't know existed and didn't know there was skiing there? Because I'm assuming that's probably happened with Warren Miller.
Yeah, you know, one of my funniest experiences is, you know, Don Berlin. I talked to you about him earlier about being the director of photography, and he'd give me a call. And, you know, I didn't have a voice machine or anything back in these days. And, but Don had a very distinct voice. I could tell by the first word that it was Don. And Don never called unless something was brewing. He had something going. He didn't call to see if maybe I was interested or anything like that. If he called, I was going somewhere. So the instant I heard his voice, I'm like, yeah, all right, cool.
It's game time.
But he'd go through the same procedure. Hey, Tom, this is Don Berlin from Warren Miller. And I'm like, yeah, Don, I got it, you know.
Yeah, I know you, Don.
And he called, this would have been 1988.
Okay, in the beginning.
In the beginning. Well, I started with Warren Miller in 84.
Oh, okay.
Here at Swan. I'll get into that.
Yeah, you were skiing for Warren Miller, and I want to hear how that all started. I have questions.
This was a ski trip here too.
Okay.
With Kevin Andrews.
Right.
And it was right before I got married.
Oh, wow.
So Don calls and says, Tom, you know, we're doing a ski trip to Morocco. You know, would you like to go? I'm going, Morocco. I'm thinking to myself, I think it's Africa. Sure, I'll go. You know, it's like, didn't even know where it was, you know.
I love it.
And
but you said yes.
I said yes. I
don't know where it is, but I'm down.
I hung up the phone, went right to the encyclopedia and find out where Morocco was, you know.
Nice.
And but that was, you know, I'd been to South America before, but this was definitely my first trip to, you know, more of a different culture, especially, you know, religion-wise, you know.
Yes.
And you could really sense that. So it's very eye-opening experience and really nice. And, you know, the Atlas Mountains are gorgeous too.
Oh, I can't wait to go. Yeah, I've seen terrific things. Huge, 4,000 foot couloirs.
Just incredible, beautiful, cool cultural town for sure.
Well, let's jump right into that. We'll skip over to this because you were a skier in the Warren Miller movies, which is how you probably got into all this to start with, and with the Warren Miller crew. And I'm just so curious, how did that happen? How did you get in a Warren Miller movie?
Yeah, I was, you know, just skiing around Squaw my first year, which was 82, 83. That was a record year in the Sierras for sure. And that was my first year. And I thought that was average, huh?
Like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, boy, I definitely went to the right spot. It was a magical year. And then through that year, I got to meet a lot of skiers, and Scott Schmidt was one of them. So
Right. The
I was
legend.
able to ski a little bit with Scott. And I ended up on a photo shoot, a Japanese clothing company.
Oh,
Goldwyn was doing a photo shoot in Squaw, and I got off the gondola. They had some scouts up there, you know.
uh-huh.
They came up to me and they asked me if I'd want to, model in there for their catalog. I was a little shy and actually a little embarrassed by the question, to be honest with you. But one of the guys that was, ushering the scouts around was a friend of mine. He says, Tom, you should do this. This is a good opportunity. And I said, well, okay. I think it paid $100 a day, and I was probably making like $20 a day as a ski tuner. So,
oh, that's big money.
So yeah, $100 a day was big money, and that's really where I got to meet Scott.
Wow.
And then the following winter, I was in the ski shop there at Squaw Valley Sport Shop working, and Scott comes in one day, and just being kind of nonchalant and just talking for a little bit, and then out of the blue, he goes, Warren Miller's coming to town next week. I was wondering if you'd, want to ski with me in the segment.
Whoa.
I was like really blown away by that. And, Scott, he's about as mellow as they come. So he asked it just so sincerely and politely and quietly and everything about it. So it was pretty impressive.
I was just about to explain to our audience who Scott Schmidt is. But I don't know, shit, you tell us, who is Scott Schmidt?
Well, Scott is really the person that set the whole free skiing aspect of skiing, into the marketplace through his work. Scott, through working with photographers and filmmakers like Warren Miller, really put free skiing on the map. At the time, this is the early 80s, for the most part, you're either a mogul skier or a racer, and that's what almost all the ski companies were attaching their branding to. And Scott really switched that. He really opened the eyes to a lot of companies to explore free skiing, because let's face it, 99% of the people you see at a ski area are free skiers. They're just out there skiing the mountain.
Yeah.
And this type of work and style of skiing and shooting really went hand in hand to inspire the masses about skiing. And Scott really was the trendsetter to start all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think of Scott as the pioneer of quote unquote extreme skiing in North America. And I think there was a little popularity or I don't know, just maybe exposure around, quote unquote extreme skiing, free skiing, aggressive free skiing in Europe, Sylvain Sedan and Ensemble Beau and, Patrick Valençon and some of these legends in France and Europe. But we didn't really have anybody like that in the US until Scott Schmidt came.
I just want to finish it by, Scott's style of skiing is one that he only has, his style is so beautiful. And it's why the cameras were so attracted to him was how he could make a turn. It looked so elegant and beautiful and smooth.
I would argue that some of that rubbed off on you or you just got that from your upbringing, because I've gotten to ski with you and that's what everybody says, but definitely what I take away from skiing with you as well, Tom, is just very smooth, very elegant, not really any motion wasted, which is really unique to watch, and especially how fluidly you can move with the mountain, not against it. That's something that obviously Scott had as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's still practicing that today, still trying to do that with every turn, and every once in a while you get bumped and kind of, it's good. It's a little humbling feeling to get knocked off your game.
Oh man, that's every other turn for me. I didn't start skiing till I was 18. So I don't have that fluid form. I never took a lesson or anything or a ski raced. And so when I ski with people like you, it's really good for me. I really try to watch what you do. James Heim too is somebody that I've gotten to ski with. in person a bit, and it just seeing how forward he is, and just the way you guys use the mountain instead of, I feel like I'm always fighting the mountain. Every once in a while it comes together for everybody, I think, who gets out there. But for some people like you and Scott, I think it comes together more often.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely what keeps you going is that that quest to keep getting that feeling, and you know it when you hit it, but
oh yeah,
and you don't always do it, and that's the secret is.
Today's Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Grand Targhee. With good times served daily at Grand Targhee Resort, it's time to embrace the vibe. Escape the crowds and get back to enjoying skiing and snowboarding the way it was meant to be. From our family-friendly kids adventure zone and uncrowded runs to the wide open terrain for all abilities, the big mountain feel and western charm makes Grand Targhee a must-visit winter destination.
As far as filmmaking, my role with Warren Miller is a cameraman director, and so
what does that mean?
That means I kind of pick the ball up when we get to the location.
Okay, so somebody makes the call on when and where to go, and then once it's boots on the ground, you're the general.
Yeah, I mean, I can lend a hand with some of those decisions. In the pre-production part of it, but for the most part, I'm not, and I'm very content with that. So my job when I get to location is to direct a shoot at that point.
Right.
And, that's just, making it, making the story happen.
It's a lot of trust and kind of a lot of pressure.
It is. It really is. I mean, that's the tiresome part of the job is, to go somewhere and feel like you got to come home with, our average segment is probably like 10 minutes.
Okay.
And, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
When you think about how quick they are. And so, you got to get to skiing. And so you're really dealing with a lot of elements there. And one is Mother Nature. And,
definitely.
And the skiers. I think it's, the most enjoyable part of the job for me is the communication and lining things up with the skiers because it's really a two-way street between the camera and the skier and orchestrating that and bringing that together.
What do you think is the future of ski movies?
Boy, there's all kinds of good things going on right now. So some crazy stuff. So Marcus Eder, this Italian skier, spent 2 years making this 10-minute movie and edited it like it was like one run top to bottom. And it is done really, really well. The skiing is incredible. The lighting is beautiful. I mean, everything about it is just really, really epic. But to spend 2 years for 10 minutes, not many people can afford that luxury.
No, that's full on.
And with all the social networks these days, all the little clips you see, there's so much fantastic stuff out there. What people are posting is really cool. The thing is that they're not really like a ski movie as far as telling a story goes.
No, not at all.
I mean, just what Matchstick and TGR are doing, I think is incredible. And I think there's always going to be room for that style, which is for the most part, just showing epic skiing, just balls to the wall, best skiing possible, and that's the way they play, they set themselves up for that success. They got just great skiers that want to follow that formula, that want to be in their movies, that are willing to commit with the filmmakers to go to locations and spend whatever amount of time it takes to get those few shots. I mean, it's mind-blowing stuff that's being documented and skied right now. It's just absurd. I think the evolution of skiing, the evolution of ski filmmaking is still just growing. And it's that combination right there that I think is going to keep going for a long time. You got, Steve Winter and Murray Weiss and Scott Gaffney.
Yes.
With Matchstick. I mean, those guys, have dedicated 35 to 40 years of doing this every year. Todd and Steve Jones, what they're doing at TGR is, the same level and same desire to really make sure that the sport of skiing is being shown at its highest level,
Yes.
Very, very impressive. And I think as far as the audience goes, a lot of that is what I'd call not tangible. It's cool to see what the top people can ski. The ski world is huge. There's so many people, that ski, that sometimes I like to tell a story that may be a little bit more relatable to them, so that they can sit in the movie theater and look at a shot and go, oh, wow, I wish I was there. And I know at Warren Miller, we certainly put enough shots in our movie. We try to as well, that show that high-end cutting edge skiing as well, but we want to balance it out with so the audience at one shot can go, boy, I wouldn't want to be there, to the next shot, boy, oh, wow, that would be a great place to be.
I mean, I agree. I think that's what's so compelling about Warren Miller. It's relatable. It's what you want to do, where I think you're right. Some of the other ski movies, it's literally the top 0.0001% of skiers and riders who can do things that you will never even really be able to understand. It's on such a different level. So I do think that, I noticed that at Snowbrains as well. People really relate to the clips that we post that are more relatable, and just use that word twice, because they see it and they go, oh, I could go there. Well, I'd like to go to Jackson Hole and ski that run. That's something I could do, or maybe that's something I could aspire to or work up to. Where a lot of the stuff that you're referring to is these super high level stuff. It's very entertaining, but it's not very relatable.
Right. And I do think it's really great for the sport at both levels. Like I said, I think, what TGR and Matchstick are doing to show the world what skiers are possible of doing is awesome.
And throwing all that on the scale really makes me think about Tom Day's fantasy ski movie. So if you could have full control and make any ski movie you wanted, what ski movie would you make, Tom? Who would be in it? Where would you film it?
I think the most rewarding things out of my career is the people that I've got to film, all the different skiers that I've had a chance to work with. And man, I'm even scared to start mentioning names because I'll forget more than I'm going to say, So I think what I'd like to do, as far as if I could make my dream ski movie, is have the flexibility to go where the conditions are and bring the skiers that would probably fit that location as best as possible, whether it's an adventure and you're not afraid to rough it for a little while, or versus going to a cool urban setting in the Eastern Bloc or something with some, great, urban style skiing, that I really haven't spent time doing that. And there's a lot of really cool stuff out there that people are shooting. I'd love to tap into that.
Yes.
Something I've been wanting to do for a long time too is film some Nordic jumping.
Oh yeah, gosh, like flying.
Those guys are flying, ski flying. These guys are flying well over a football field in the air,
It's insane.
Just using their little fingers to guide them with the feathers of an eagle, Boy, I'd love to shoot some of that stuff, And, for me, you can't beat just beautiful powder,
Yes.
Pristine, cool landscapes, just dreams, the locations that, we all dream about.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously I think you'd want to tell a story and have some sort of message of just kind of, Mother Nature, peace and unity and being with people and actually engaging with people in the outdoors.
Yeah, and really telling the stories of the different disciplines of skiing a bit too, because everybody gets their enjoyment in a different way, and they're all, worthy to tell.
Let's take a step over to non-ski movies because you've been involved in some of that too. It appears that you worked on Molly's Game, which is one of my favorite recent movies. I really like that. And Triple X, and I think was Cody Townsend a stunt double on Triple X?
No, that was Jerry Jones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that was snowboarding.
Okay, so yeah, tell me about that Triple X.
Cody might have been in that movie, but because they shot some of it in Austria.
Okay.
And he might have been in that part of it. And then we shot some up on the Sierra Buttes.
Oh, cool.
So we were filming, I don't know if you remember the movie, but there's a big avalanche in it, and it's some snowboarders skiing out of it.
Okay.
And that was all CG, they just added all that. So we just needed to put skiers in a certain part of the frame so that the CG team could come in later and fill that in.
Cool.
And that was my first feature film as a cameraman, and I was working under the second unit director, Larry Blanford.
Uh-huh.
I really enjoyed working a lot with him. I mean, we worked side by side. He was, constantly looking at my monitor and, and guiding me through the shots, feature films is a different style, it's a lot of tight, fast action type stuff. And he was really testing my cinematic skills. He was really pushing me to the places I haven't been before. So I really enjoyed that process of it immensely.
That's great. And so the progress that you maybe experienced working on Triple X, did that carry over into Molly's Game and you did some action photography, videography there as well?
Yeah. Molly's Game, this is a really interesting story. So I get this phone call from a producer who says that, they're making a movie and they need a little bit of skiing shot for it. It was going to be a freestyle piece, freestyle skiing. And it was going to be with women. So, I had no idea who this guy was. And, you get phone calls sometimes and you go, I'll believe it when it happens.
Yeah. Is this for real?
Yeah. Is this really for real? And he goes, yeah, it's going to be a feature film. We don't know where we're shooting it yet, whether it'll be Utah or Canada or something. And I'm like, okay. And we kind of left it at that. I sent him my resume and sent them a few stuff. And I didn't hear from these guys for a month.
Whoa.
Then all of a sudden I get a phone call and I got an email said, hey, can you jump on a conference call, with the DP and the director? And I go, yeah, I can do that. And then they said it was Aaron Sorkin. I had no idea who Aaron Sorkin was.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have either.
I didn't have a clue, didn't even bother looking it up, right? So I'm talking on the phone with these guys, and maybe it was a good thing I didn't know who he was because I felt I was a little freer to talk because...
nonchalant.
I was nonchalant because I really didn't think the job, I didn't think the job was going to happen, to be honest with you. So I'm just like, oh, yeah, we can shoot skiing, we can do it we can try shots like this and try shots like that. And Aaron was pretty vocal. She's like, oh, no. I want to shoot skiing like it's never been shot before.
Oh.
That I went, oh, too. I'm thinking to myself, how the hell am I going to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, people have been shooting skiing for 100 years, how am I going to make this different,
Yeah.
So, I kind of started giving him a few ideas and he was like, yeah. So then I brought up, maybe we could bring a cable cam system in and set a few cable cameras up down through the course. And that woke him up, man. He was like, oh, I like that. Oh, this sounds good, And so things started progressing and then they brought me out for a scout and they were filming it in Ontario.
Okay. Up in Canada.
Flew into Toronto. They were filming at Pinewood Studios.
Okay.
Never heard of Pinewood Studios. It's the biggest studio in North America.
Really? Whoa.
It's bigger than anything in LA, bigger than anything in Vancouver. It's the biggest studio in North America.
Wow.
And so I walk in, and it's a nighttime shoot. They're Charlotte's filming the gambling scene around one of the tables. And at this point, I still don't know what the movie's about. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And it was the shuttle driver that picked me up at the airport that filled me in on the movie. He told me who Aaron Sorkin was, told me Kevin Costner's in the movie, Jessica Chastain, and that name went over my head too. I didn't know anything about Jessica Chastain at this point.
Yeah, she's great.
Unbelievable. And I'm like, so in this like 30-minute shuttle ride to the studio, I'm like, holy shit, man, this is a lot bigger than what I thought it was going to be. Like,
oh man, did I bring a collared shirt? I don't know if I'm ready.
Yeah. And, then the next day we went up to the ski hill and, just kind of scouted out, where the mogul field was going to be and all this and how we were going to set cameras and stuff. And, so I was pretty blown away. I would go back to the hotel room and Google Aaron Sorkin and go, oh my God, and did this and did that. And like, oh my, yeah. So it was really a cool thing. And they brought me over to where they were doing the stunts for the ski crash.
Nice.
They made this, mogul thing. Like, I don't know if it was out of paper mache or something. And they had,
oh, wow.
A dummy, like a mannequin, dressed in ski clothes, and they tilted. They had the whole mogul thing set up on a crane that they could tilt, and then they would like,
whoa,
drop her off the top, and she would bounce down through the moguls. And I'm like, I started, giving them input, like how a fall would probably happen. And so they would like start bracing off the arms of the mannequin so that it wouldn't get too wild. It would be more realistic. It's really a fascinating process
involved.
And it's all green screen, right? So,
oh, wow.
So then they take my shots later and add it in behind all this action.
Wow.
So, they had to tilt this crane to a certain steepness to get the mannequin to actually fall in a way that would be realistic. And I said, but what's not realistic is how steep that is. There's no way someone would be skiing something that steep. So I said, what you need to do now is Dutch your cameras, cheat them the opposite way so it doesn't look as steep, but you still get the action of the mannequin. So all that worked out pretty good.
Oh, they must have appreciated you right then.
Yeah, that was fun. It was just really cool to just all of a sudden be a part of it, because the feature film is like it takes like 3 months to film.
Oh yeah.
And my 2-minute portion of it was like a 5-day shoot.
Wow, this is the big leagues, man. The big leagues.
Yeah, so I went there for the scout and helped them a little bit, and then we went back to do the shoot, and I was able to get my friends to do the cable cam stuff. Company out of Colorado, Skycam. Jeff Engelbretson works for them, so Jeff was on the shoot.
Jeff is great.
So that was really nice having Jeff and Jesse there. And another friend that I had done some shooting with in the past on some commercial work, Steve Spears. I got him to be a camera operator. So I hardly even picked the camera up.
Your brain is what was being used, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was really a lot of fun, and it was being tested too. So
I bet.
I get there on the film day. The day before the film day, I go up and I scout again, and we were doing a few test shots with the DP. They needed to have a union DP. So I'm not a union worker. So okay. I have to get hired under, especially in a different country. So I'm working on a feature film in a different country.
And DP is director of photography, correct?
Director of photography.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
And I was more or less the second unit director, which is pretty good.
Very cool, man.
Yeah. But they couldn't give me that title because I was working in Canada, which was, kind of a bummer, but it didn't matter. The challenge of the job was pretty cool. But on that first day, the director of photography was, kind of like taking over a little bit,
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of like sensing this, and I'm like, I go, I wonder who's in charge of this shoot here.
Ooh.
I thought it was me. Right. So I call my AD up the first morning of the shoot. I called him up at like 5 a.m. I mean, I knew who he's up because, we had an early call time. So I call him and I go, "Hey, John, who's directing this shoot, And he goes, "You are." And I go, "Okay, that's what I thought." And he apologized. He goes, "Yeah, I sensed that yesterday too. I should have said something." The AD, the assistant director on a shoot is like, he's one of the most important persons on a shoot.
Yeah, definitely.
He's the nuts and bolts. He's the guy that really makes sure that the film day goes productive and it stays productive to storyline and all that. So as soon as he said that, boom, I turned my cap around and I said, okay. And I went to work and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I mainly hung out in this tent that had a monitor to all the cameras. We had like 4 or 5 cameras going all the time. And I had a radio to all the operators, so I could really, direct the shoots really efficiently and try to get the most out of all of it. And so that was one of my most challenging jobs I've had to do. And it really was rewarding.
Definitely sounds like the most exciting, challenging thing you've had to do. I love that. Thank you for all those details. That sounds like, I don't know, just sounds wild to be in a tent with a bunch of different screens playing. And it's you who's making the comments, "Hey, turn the camera this way, manipulate this that way, have them do it again." That must have been heavy and exciting, man. Good for you. Congrats. What a great experience. What year do you think that was?
Yeah, I think that was 2017,
Oh, that's nuts.
I'll just give a quick synopsis if the audience wants to hear it. But
yeah, please do.
Molly was a U.S. Top prospect for the Olympics in mogul skiing. And during one of her qualifying runs, she had a bad ski accident that pretty much knocked her out of her career. So she ends up going back to school and studies law to become a lawyer. And during school, she gets a job as a secretary for this guy. And this is a true story.
Yeah.
And so she gets a job as a secretary for this guy, to help pay for her schooling. And the guy ends up being this guy that orchestrates high-end gambling, which is legal. The real people are famous actors that were around the table.
Okay. Wealthy celebrities.
And these are all guys that you have heard of, Ben Affleck. Who's the guy that does Spider-Man?
Oh, Tobey Maguire once did it.
Tobey Maguire. Okay. He was one of the guys around the table. So, I mean, these guys would go to these, they'd rent a suite in a hotel, or they'd rent a cool bar, just rent the whole bar just so these guys can go in and do it. And these were high stake games.
Huge.
And then it just gets deeper and deeper into trouble with gambling, although it's legal to a certain point. It's legal until it becomes racketeering.
Right.
And that's where Molly got in trouble. I won't tell any more about it, but it's just a really, really good story, good storytelling by Aaron Sorkin, and the acting, carried it out really nicely.
And, one of your best experiences truly in the big leagues. And I love that. And speaking of the big leagues, I was just on the phone with your son, Danny Day, and he was reminding me that you recently won an Emmy for filming Life Below Zero. And I totally kind of slipped my mind, but tell me a little bit about that. This is another big league moment. What was winning an Emmy like?
I'll start with what winning an Emmy's like. Because I think we've all seen it on TV,
it's a production.
During the awards, everyone's dressed in their tuxedos, and each film group is kind of around their own table. And there's usually 4 or 5 people that are going for the Emmy for whatever category it is, whether it's cinematography or editing or directing or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
So they usually go through the clips of each contestant that's selected for the Emmy, right?
Uh-huh.
And so you get to watch a little bit of everybody's movie.
Yep.
Or show. And So you watch The Life Below Zero and you go, okay, cool. And then the other movies come up and they're all just fantastic cinematography. This Emmy that we won was for cinematography.
So cool.
So they go through all these clips. You get to watch it, all 5 contestants. And then, the MC gets up and he takes the white envelope and he pulls it out. And the winner is, we've all heard this.
Uh-huh.
But when he says the show that you're working on, it really hits you hard, man. It's like, wow, it's real, man.
Yeah. What did you feel at that moment?
Elated, man. I was just like blown away. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. That's an Emmy right there. Because it could have easily gone another direction. You don't know when you're sitting there. And that's, oh yeah, it's like you're on pins and needles. First year I went to it, I was Danny's guest. This was before I was working on the movie. And, you're in the audience and you're watching. And I'm looking over at Danny when the MC, opens up the envelope. And Danny's like just looking so content. He's got both his fingers crossed,
Oh, I love it.
And I'll never forget that moment of looking at Danny. And I'm thinking, wow, this must really mean something. And he didn't get it that year. That was the year he didn't get it.
Okay. Because he's gotten a few, I think.
Yeah, Danny has 5.
Oh my God.
Been nominated 6 times. So it was
unbelievable.
It was that one time he didn't get it was the time. But man, it's a very impressive experience to go through. The after party dinner is that they usually do like some type of a theme, and you go into this huge convention room that's just decorated and lit very mysteriously, and they got bands playing up on these high stages. I mean, it's really like you feel kind of special going to this. This year with COVID, they didn't have that after party, which was kind of a bummer, but that's okay.
Well, but at least you got to experience it. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that's just something I don't think we all kind of dream about, that sort of a moment, and it's so immortalized in the American psyche. Sitting there in your tuxedo or your fancy dress, and with your fingers crossed, and the winner, and the Emmy goes too, and that little pause, and then they say it, and then you see the people's reaction. They just light up, and it's so cool to see. And so you got to experience that, and that's something very few of us will get to be close to.
I mean, even Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg and all those guys, that it's still a moment for them when it happens,
Absolutely. Especially being recognized for something that you've put your whole life into, as you and Danny have, is very special. And speaking of that, it makes me so curious, what is it like working with Danny, and how did you go about teaching Danny the art of filmmaking?
Yeah. Danny, obviously very proud of him. And he got this job on Life Below Zero on his own, through his own connections, which I think is even that much more meaningful to him.
Yes, amazing.
Danny went on our film shoots, ever since he was born, right?
Really?
Lizzie and I traveled through Europe extensively when Danny was like, still in diapers. all the way up until probably 4, 5, 6, no, I guess 6 years old. Then Leonor was born. Then it becomes a lot harder to travel with 2 kids.
Right.
But when it was just Danny, he was around my cameras all the time, and he knew, I made it very clear to Danny. It's like, be careful, be careful, be careful, man. These got to be super careful around camera gear, that was my first thing I probably taught him,
Right.
And then eventually, I put it in his hands, and just get him comfortable holding something that's, fragile and valuable, but be comfortable with it. It's cool. It's just a tool, just no big deal, but it's a process, especially when you're young. You don't want it to be nonchalant. That's for sure.
Right.
And he's been around cameras his whole life. He really has.
So cool.
So it's so second nature for him to be on any film shoot, and his evolution of growing just been fantastic to witness.
It's going to be really neat to see. I mean, he's already at such a high level, 5 Emmys. And it's going to be really neat to see where he goes from here. I think the sky truly is the limit for somebody in filmmaking who's had a camera in their hand since the moment they could hold one.
Yeah, no doubt. And so when he invited me to be his assistant on a job, it's like I was pretty excited,
I bet.
Well, I get to go on a job and just help, and it's kind of nice to work on at that level too, where you don't need to be focused on big pictures. You can just kind of scan and look at the smaller details instead, and just help out however you can in that sense, and know that he has the bigger thing under control, and let him do it. And Danny has a really unique on-off switch. When he works, he's very thorough. He's very meticulous. He puts 100% energy into doing his job. And when he gets home, the switch goes off, and he's Mr. Casual, and he's just going to do things his way on his schedule, and be with his friends and ski. And I think that's the beauty of just having, for the most part, one job, is you can really kind of turn it off and turn it on. And I like it. I think Danny's got a very unique way of working that way.
I see that in Danny as well, because when I see and ski with Danny, he never even talks about cameras or work or anything. He's just fully in the moment. And then obviously, when I'm not with him, he's out winning Emmys. So so it does seem like he's got the on-off switch dialed, and what a cool way to grow up. And speaking of growing up, I'm curious to hear a little bit about just, you grew up skiing Bolton Valley in Vermont. Is that right? And what was it like back then? What was skiing Vermont in the 70s like?
It was fantastic. It was as good as life could be. The only thing that was the hard part, it was a half an hour drive to the ski slopes.
That's not bad considering.
That was too far. So that's why when I moved here, I moved straight to Squaw. I said, I want to be able to walk to the lifts. I don't want to have to rely on anything else to go skiing.
I agree. That's living the dream.
But as far as growing up in Vermont and going to Bolton Valley, my dad was a ski patroller.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. When he was 18, he was a ski patroller at Stowe. He was the youngest guy there.
Wow.
Stowe is Vermont's biggest ski area.
Yeah, it's the premier East Coast spot.
Yeah, and he was one of 6 ski patrollers that year.
Whoa.
So that's a big responsibility.
Absolutely, at 18.
Then eventually went on to school and became an insurance adjuster.
Smart.
And got married and had children. And during that time is when Bolton Valley ski area started up by Ralph Delorier.
Right.
Ralph and my mom went to high school together.
Of course.
And, Dad having, they were looking for ski patrollers. And for the most part, that was the National Ski Patrol. We have National Ski Patrol here too, which is for
the volunteer program.
Volunteers, right? So they come in during the busy times, which there was like vacations and weekends. And the one good thing about Bolton that some of the bigger ski areas didn't offer their National Ski Patrol was free skiing for the whole family. Ah, smart. So all of us, got to grow up skiing. And if it wasn't, for Dad doing that, it was probably a sport that, if I found it, I don't know when I would have, so. Right. It was definitely that. My mom was a skier growing up too as a child. So it was definitely, part of our winter lifestyle. You truly are cradle to grave with skiing. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And what was Bolton Valley like back then? It must have been funky and simple. It really was. Those were the beginning days of it. Dad was there the very first year they opened. So that's when we started skiing there. Great stories, great memories. Bolton Valley is a fairly small ski area in central Vermont, about a half an hour from Burlington, which is the biggest city in Vermont. And very family oriented. So, there was a lot of kids skiing there. We had a lot of friends that we saw every weekend, every winter. And it was really a nice place to be.
As I understand it, Burlington is the smallest, biggest city in any state, if you understand me. So of the biggest city in every state, it's the smallest, of course.
Vermont's got some funk, man. Really is a beautiful place with its own state of mind, for sure.
Well, it looks very cool, man. I love that. And so then you ended up, exiting Vermont. And I just want to touch really quick on the Blizzard of Oz, because it's such a big deal to me and so many people. You ended up in the Blizzard of Oz, which came out in 1988. So I assume you filmed in 1987. And more often than not, when I have guests come on this podcast and say, what's your favorite ski movie? They say Blizzard of Oz. And you were in that movie. And so I'm just curious, how did you end up in that movie?
Yeah, again, that was through Scott. Scott said that Greg was coming, Greg Stump was going to be filming a segment at Squaw this year, and he wanted to know if I wanted to ski in it. And I said, yeah, definitely, of course, because, every opportunity is a good opportunity, right? So you don't want to let those slip away. And I think this was probably, Greg's third or fourth movie. So he was already on a roll and creating really good stuff.
Definitely. And very impressive, man. Just the Blizzard of Oz, the whole thing in general. And so, yeah, if you just had to kind of sum up just a little bit about the whole experience of shooting Blizzard of Oz, what was it like for you?
Well, the production was awesome. The film with Glenn, with Scott, with Mike Slattery, and myself. I think it was the four of us that were skiing in it. And the segment came out, a lot different than what we were shooting.
Okay.
And this is where I think, Greg is very talented. He spun that into a good story, made it become like a shootout, like who was going to go to who was going to go to Chamonix with Scott.
That's how it feels. It feels like a tryout,
Yeah.
Which is a good strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, the film came out a lot different in the edit than the way we shot it, in the sense that Greg really wove a shootout story in it of who was going to go to Chamonix with Scott to ski. And,
right.
While we were filming it, that really wasn't what we were thinking.
You're just skiing.
We were just skiing. Yeah. And as far as the way that played out, it made total sense. Like I said, Glenn ripped, and he was skiing super good and absolutely the right choice for sure.
Yeah, the whole storyline came out so cool. That you were a part of it is legendary, and I really appreciate you sharing some of that with me. And to go like just one step more into your skiing, you're still arguably one of the best skiers at Squaw Palisades Tahoe. What are your goals for skiing this season?
I just like to ski, Miles.
I know you do.
And I rarely really care what the snow's like. We all like it when the snow's awesome.
Right.
And I think one of the things that makes this area at Squaw so good is its constant changing of snow conditions.
Oh gosh, within a day.
Within a day, yeah. Or we get when we get powder, we get some good powder here.
Oh yeah.
And we get the awesome wind-blown snow, and we get. I think it's one of the finest spring ski areas too.
Absolutely, that's my favorite. I still think back to those. I think it was 2017 when they kept the chair open till 7 p.m. a couple nights. How epic! I know I saw you out there. How epic was that? Just to be able to ski. I think I showed up at 3 and ski till 7. Just to be able to ski. Just perfect corn and perfect snow, and it's just slowly changing every run. Oh man, I don't think I've ever had that much fun in Chute 75 in any other condition.
Yeah, it really was a magical day then when they left the resort open to 7 in the evening.
That was so special.
Yeah,
that was so special.
Yeah.
And then thinking of skiing, and you've been skiing for 55 years. You're 60 years old now. How is you've been jumping and hucking your meat for decades. I just actually, Danny, your son, just sent me the clip of you hucking into the chimney in the end of one of the, because you used to work for Standard Films as well. I think it was 1993. You did this huge 15, 20-foot drop into the chimney sweep at the top of Squaw, Palisades Tahoe. You have to change angles in the air. You go down the super steep ramp, do a 40-foot air out, stomp it, ski away. It's mind-bending, the level of skiing that you display in that clip. So yeah, you're 60, you've been doing this kind of stuff forever. How's your body holding up?
Yeah, so funny. I was looking at the chimney yesterday going, God, I wonder if, am I going to be able to do that at 60?
Yeah. When was the last time you skied the chimney?
I think like 2 years ago. It was
That's
pretty funny. That's a
very,
good
very
story.
impressive. Yeah, tell me that story. How did you end up in
Yeah,
a
you gotta
snowboarding
talk-
movie?
I wasn't going to ski it, okay?
Okay. That's what they all say.
Yeah. I was up there on the right side, just to the skiers left of Schmidt's. I think they call that Easy Street or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's actually one of my favorites. It's got a really sweet flow to it.
It does.
And Scott Gaffney was up there filming.
Okay.
And Connery Lundeen was up there. And I got to see Connery do some amazing jumps off there. I'm like, holy cow, that's just a different world.
Connery's amazing.
Yeah. So Scott had his camera, and he this is one of the things I love about Scott. He loves squaw. He loves what makes squaw. So he was just trying to do some interview stuff on some Palisade stories. So I'm standing on the edge, looking over at Scott, and he asked me, to tell him a good Palisade story, a good chimney story. I was up on top of the chimney here back my second year in squaw on a total blizzard.
Whoa.
And this was back in the day when they never closed. I mean, the Palisades never had a close sign, man. If you want to go up there, go for it.
Whoa. Those are the days.
Those were the good old days.
Jeez.
And Scott and I are looking down over the cornice, and we could see about like 10 feet, and then it just went into a blur in the blizzard,
Scott Schmidt and you.
Yeah. But we knew it was deep, right? And we're both just standing there, just kind of wanting it, but afraid, because it's like, you can't see. It's like,
yeah,
he jumps into what you can't see, right? So we turn around and we start skating away. And I look back over my shoulder, and Scott stops, turns around, goes back to the edge, and drops into the abyss.
Oh my gosh.
So I just raced right back to the edge. And of course, he's long gone into the cloud. I couldn't even,
Right.
And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I didn't know whether I for a couple reasons, I probably just didn't want to do it, is scared to do it.
Oh gosh.
And there's no way I could do it thinking, wow, what if Scott fell? And I would just blast right into him, So
yeah.
So I go around, I ski something else, I don't know what, and I never saw Scott again till the end of the day.
Whoa.
And we go into the bar, I found him in the bar, and we having a beer, and I go, so what happened? he goes, I crashed so bad.
Oh, of course.
And he was just laughing,
God.
Yeah, so that was just such a good story. So
that is nuts, man.
So I kind of look over to Scott as he's filming, and he goes, okay, your turn. And I said, okay, see ya. And I just dropped right in.
Well, and that was only a couple of years ago.
And the last thing I heard Scott as I was dropping in was he was like laughing and going, oh, I can't believe it.
Oh, that's so cool. And for our audience, could you describe the chimney? Because I think it's just pure terror.
Yeah, well, the chimney, depending on how it's filled in, makes a huge difference.
Yes.
But when it's like medium full, it's pretty challenging. And about the first impression that goes through your mind when you look over the edge is speed.
Yes.
There's no way you're going to stop speed. I mean, if you're going to commit to this one, which takes about a fraction of a second, all you got to do is like just tip your balance over the edge, and then there's no pulling back after that,
No.
And or if you do, you're just you're going to get you're going to get spanked if you try to stop, because you got to know before you go that you're going to do it 100%. Otherwise, you're going to get hurt. I mean, you're probably going 60, 70 miles in a second or two.
Oh yeah, it's yeah. It's too much.
It happens quick. It's a rush. It's a big head rush. And your mind is telling you you're going to be going fast. If you fall, you're going to hurt. It's going to hurt, man. That's going
to be bad.
You're going to hurt bad. That's what goes through your mind. So to find that moment, when you can convince yourself that you got it is That's a beautiful dance with your mind right there. It really is, you know?
I feel like it's pure visualization. For me, dropping the chimney, it's totally my vision. And if I can't see it, I have to walk away. But if I can see it, I can do it. And if I visualized it well enough, I don't even really ski it. I kind of just black out. You sort of just roll in, and usually it's a big drop to get in, and you're on the snow for a little bit, and you're flying off at full speed. And some people talk about it, being like a 90-meter ski jump, having that kind of feeling. And so the key for me really is, as you're saying, is that focus and that vision before I drop, because the skiing hardly even happens because it happens so quick.
Oh, that's such a good way to say it. I mean, that's exactly the way I feel when I'm up there. It really is. And a lot of times you get up there and you look at it, and your first answer is usually the correct one.
Yes.
And 9 times out of 10 is no.
Yeah, too much.
So as soon as your mind says no, it's almost a relief, right? It's like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not today. No worries about it. No, stop freaking. Then there's that moment when you look over it and you go, I see it. It's doable.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take a half a second, you go, oh no, I'm scared again. Because it's like, okay, you gotta.
Now I'm going to do it.
How am I? Yeah, it's like, I see it. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, it's the ultimate rush. I think for me, skiing the chimney, that quick, spontaneous rush is that's a hard one to beat.
It's very difficult to attain that anywhere in life, I think.
Yeah.
But you can definitely get in the chimney, and that feeling, because of the fear, because of the focus, because of the vision, when you do pull it off and you get to the bottom, it is a fantastic feeling, man. And everybody's high-fiving each other, and just the high at the bottom is ridiculous.
It really is, no doubt. You get down and you're just like, oh, you're just pumped.
So I'm assuming your answer is just that your body's doing great if you're dropping the chimney at 58 years old. But how is your body holding up, and what are you doing to stay in good shape?
Yeah, no, I think knock on some wood here.
Me too.
Just trying to stay, fluid as far as staying in shape. Yeah, I work on that. During the summer, I like to hike and bike and stuff just to kind of keep moving a little bit. Skiing, I really try to start slow at the beginning of the season.
Smart.
And I try to start slow every time I take a break. If I have like a few day break or something like that, I really like to, again, just go out, resense that, what that snow is, get that feeling of how it translates from your skis to your mind, That's a subtle feeling right there that is such an integral part of your turn that I like to kind of rediscover that every time I take a reset,
I like that. It's a great technique and great ideology. And what might be next for you? What's next for you in your life's journey, Tom?
I want to become a ski bum again.
Okay. And so the reverse ski bum, how do you do it?
To me, there is, and I get to do it every year. I'm actually in that phase right now between when skiing starts and then when filming starts. I can really, be a ski bum. And what I mean by a ski bum is free every day to go to the mountain, whether it's going up for a tour, going for a hike, whether it's going down to KT or Headwall or wherever, just exploring the mountain, but doing it at a pace that just feels right on that particular moment. I rarely make plans to meet people. I really like just flowing to the ski area when everything lines up. And when I'm in my groove, it's usually 9 o'clock, I'd like to be there when the lifts are running, when they start. And if I stop early, cool. If I go to 4, better.
And I think you generally do, Tom. It's impressive how much you ski. Tom, that's all I got for you. Do you have anything you'd like to add here at the end of the show?
I don't know, Miles. I really appreciate the time to talk, and thank you for opening me up. I don't always do that.
You were great, man. I opened you up with like a can opener, man. We got a lot of great stuff.
I'm very thankful and fortunate that I am where I'm at,
Well, I do think that the key to joy in life is gratitude, and you seem to have mastered a bit of that, Tom. So it was so great chatting with you today. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll look forward to skiing with you at Squaw Palisades Tahoe damn soon.
Yeah, Miles, enjoy your next turns.
I always do.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you so much for listening to the Snowbrains podcast. If you liked this podcast, please share with your friends and family, and please subscribe. To find out more about Snowbrains, please visit us at snowbrains.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Snowbrains. Today's Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Grand Targhee Resort. With over 20 feet of snowfall to date, heading to the Tetons is a must-do. We invite you to experience and be part of the Targhee vibe at Grand Targhee Resort. This episode of the Snowbrains podcast was edited by Jared White. Music by Chad Crouch. And I'm your host, producer, and creator, Miles Clark.